see
but
that.
Do you want Congress to extend these ACA subsidies?
Well, I'd like that to be able to do it.
The president claims he somehow wants to bypass insurance companies to pay people directly, but he hasn't explained how or what this would mean for Americans' health care. And he has not released a health care plan of his own. During the campaign, he said he was working on one.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now.
Now, 11 months into his term, still no plan.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. Millions of American families are on the precipice right now of a disastrous increase in healthcare premiums because Donald Trump and the Republican Party have no viable plan. All they seem capable of doing is complaining about the ACA, Obamacare, without offering any meaningful solutions. They have had 15 years to come up with an alternative. But when a political movement is fueled by grievance, solutions aren't a priority. Here is Dr. Oz in the Oval Office alluding yet again to concepts of a plan.
We have some ideas out there. Congress is working through some concepts.
This has become a bad punchline, and whatever concepts the Republicans have proposed would be catastrophic for our healthcare system. They would raise premiums, undermine Medicare and Medicaid, and gut protections for pre-existing conditions. And all that tough talk about insurance companies, whose side do you think Trump is really on? Thankfully, state governments still have a lot of power here. Governors will play a critical role in defending Medicare and Medicaid while holding insurance companies accountable. Jocelyn Benson currently serves as Michigan's Secretary of State and is running for governor. In part one of our conversation on Monday, we talked about what it will mean for families facing these spikes in healthcare premiums. In part two, we talk about what governors can do to protect healthcare, to defend democracy, and to stand up to the Trump regime. Here's me and Jocelyn Benson. How much power do states have, not just to regulate the insurance industry? I mean, all the power of regulation is there, but to hold bad actors within that industry accountable. I mean, I think some of us are ready to see executives go to jail for some of what's been happening, but what can governors do? What can state AGs do to probe some of these practices of the insurance companies and say, that's illegal, we're going to hold you accountable?
Yeah, I mean, there has never been a time where state officials, for that very reason, to hold bad actors accountable, there's never been a time when state officials have been more important, whether it's holding bad actors accountable at the federal level who are overreaching and abusing their power, or private insurers and others who are illegally blocking healthcare access to folks or otherwise breaking the law. State officials and particularly governors and attorneys general can work together to hold companies accountable, to hold insurance companies accountable, and ensure the system works. And then what a governor uniquely can also do, in addition to the policies, in addition to holding bad actors accountable, we can also ensure that the system's working well, that when you interact with our state government agencies, that they're actually efficiently helping to serve you and make your life a little bit easier and solve problems for you, instead of adding to the obstacle course and adding to the challenges. So you've got a unique opportunity to stand up for people as governor, as a state official, especially in this challenging time, but also make state government work well so that we're alleviating some of those struggles.
Speaking of holding bad actors accountable, state governments need to do more about DHS and ICE and CBP and the abuses of power that we see every day in the cities into which ICE has descended. In some cases, literally rappelling out of helicopters to raid civilian apartment complexes, resulting in absolutely no charges. That's the latest report out of one of these Chicago raids. The federal government is hopeless in this area. They are the problem. What can state government do? And what can you promise to us you will do as governor to begin to rein in some of these abuses of power by DHS, ICE, and CBP?
Well, I think, again, this is a moment where governors have never been more important in standing up to abuses of power and authority at the federal level. And I think Governor Pritzker is showing this very well of how effective a governor can be at leveraging every tool in your toolbox to ensure that you're actually doing what government's supposed to do, which is keeping people safe and keeping communities safe from harm. And the irony of this abuse of power we're seeing at the federal level is that it's not keeping any community safer. It's actually creating a lot of discord and fear and challenges, and it's heartbreaking, especially because we do need to do a lot to actually invest in the safety of our communities. And I come from a military family. My husband served in the Army, and so I also know firsthand how hard it is for so many folks in our military right now who sign up to serve and protect the people in our country to see their own positions abused and misused by the commander in chief. So this is a time when governors have never been more critical to stand up to that abuse, to stand up to that injustice, and to use every tool in our toolbox, whether it involves suing to block and protect, or also investing in local and community policing so that we can keep communities safe and empower our local law enforcement to actually protect communities and do the job that the federal government is claiming to do, but is actually not doing. So it's going to take a strong governor who's willing, above all, to stand up to the president of the United States and seek justice and stand up to the abuse of power. And I'm the only person running for governor in Michigan that's actually done that. I've stood up to Trump multiple times when he, in a similar way in 2020, didn't like that he lost an election and tried to, through lies and abuses of power and authority, intimidate me and local election officials from certifying that election. I said no. Even if people came to my home with guns and stormed my lawn, I still stood firm, willing to stand up to anyone, no matter how powerful or how many threats they throw my way, when the Constitution, justice, the safety of our people, the votes and voices of Michiganders are on the line. So I'll do the same thing as governor, and that's exactly what you need from governors in this moment, at a time when you're not seeing that type of leadership at the federal level.
Hey everyone, it's Ken. Quick break for a shameless pitch for my Substack and Patreon pages. To all of you who have subscribed, thank you. Your support is what makes this show possible. Anytime you see in-person reporting, whether it's trips to Ukraine to show you what is really happening on the ground, or my recent conversations with Congressman Jason Crow and Senator Tammy Duckworth, where we got on-the-record commitments to back hearings into ICE's abuses of power.
People need to know that we're taking names.
All of this only happens with your support. Every dollar that comes in through Substack and Patreon goes back into this show. And with the holidays coming up, you can give gift subscriptions as well. The links are below. Thanks for everything. Your support means the world to me. Back to the show. How confident are you that we will have a free and fair election in 2026 and beyond, given the machinations of the Trump regime, the positioning of ICE as not just an arm of immigration enforcement, but increasingly a regime protection force? I think a lot of people are now worried about armed agents of the federal government surrounding polling places in minority neighborhoods in 2026. And it seemed alarmist a couple years ago. It seemed realistic a couple months ago. Now it seems prophetic. Like, this is coming, and what can we do to prepare?
I, as someone who's been on the front lines administering elections and defending democracy for now nearly a decade, and really throughout most of my career, I am deeply concerned about the potential for federal overreach and abuse of power to impede our ability to have safe and secure elections in the future, not just in 2026, but in 2028, the presidential election that year. And that is why it is so critical in this moment that we have citizens and state leaders who are willing to stand guard, because democracy has always prevailed when the people demand that it does. That's what we saw in 2020. Despite an unprecedented coordinated national effort to overturn the results of a legitimate presidential election, democracy prevailed. That free and fair election prevailed. Those results held because people stood up alongside election officials and ensured the truth and the law and the facts ruled the day. So we're going to need to continue doing that. And it's, again, underscores why state officials, why the 2026 election itself is so critical for protecting democracy in the future. Because the ability for us to have free and fair elections in 2028 will be directly dependent on whether we elect governors and attorneys general and secretaries of state in 2026 who will hold the line, who will understand the assignment, and will protect the rights of our citizens, the voices and votes of every resident in our state, of every citizen in our state, and also be prepared to stand up to anyone, no matter how powerful or wealthy, who would try to interfere with democracy in a way to further their own agenda or extend their own power.
Last question, and I want to ask you this not as a candidate for governor, but as a military family member. One of the themes that we are hitting as often as we can on this show is the difference, at least now, between ICE and the National Guard. And the idea that, you know, these National Guard members, they join to help during fires and floods and to keep the peace. Anyone joining ICE today is doing it to beat up on people who can't defend themselves. And I think this administration, this regime is working really hard to conflate the two and to confuse Americans and to deploy ICE and CBP side by side with the National Guard so that we get used to seeing uniforms in our streets and turn our frustration and our ire against the National Guard when, at least until now, they're the good guys. They are us. They're our neighbors. They're our sons, our daughters, our dentists, our bakers. As a military family member, can you help us reinforce that difference in what the National Guard actually exists to do?
Yeah, I mean, we have many heroic National Guards members who sign up to serve and protect the communities they live in. It's an extraordinary act of patriotism, and they sign up because they believe in that promise of America, that promise of democracy, that promise that we're all in this together in that community. And to see that promise, that commitment to service be abused by their commander-in-chief to further his own political agenda based on no data and no research that it's going to keep communities safe, but only to serve his political agenda is heartbreaking, and it rips against the fabric of who we are as Americans. But we're also something else as Americans. We are a people that stand up to bullies. That's deeply ingrained in who we are. We stand up to people who are trying to take others' rights away, who are bullies, who are trying to make people feel less, recognizing that we all have a voice and that voice must be heard. And so the beauty of this moment is it also gives us all an opportunity. And I think of men and women who are serving in our National Guard as part of that opportunity to actually ensure that we are connecting to that fabric of America that stands up for each other, for ourselves, for our communities, and stands up to bullies, whether they be the most powerful or wealthiest people in the world, or whether they just simply be people in our neighborhood. So that's what we all have to find right now, that American ethos of standing up for each other and standing up to bullies. And if we reconnect with that as a country, as a nation, we can get out of this dark moment, I believe, and light our candles and light the way forward. But it's going to require all of us to remind ourselves who we really are as Americans, to not let the bully in the White House define that for us, no matter how many things he tries to use to make us forget who we really are, and instead reconnect to that ethos, all of us across party lines, and stand up together against this tyrannic regime, and instead ensure we're uplifting each other and electing folks on both sides of the aisle who will reflect that ethos and stand up for each other and against any powerful interest that would try to take away our voices or our rights.
Amen. Thank you, Jocelyn. We'll check in again soon.
All right. Thanks.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.